Good morning, wrestling fans, and welcome to PWR Today. This is not the man they call Meathead. This is the man they call Matthew Thomas, joined by Linda Kay. Linda, how are you doing this morning?
Feeling tremendous, Matthew. No, hold on. Is it Matthew Thomas or Matthew Damas? Or you did say also Nostradamus
Oh,
once upon a time?
yes, I did. So the origins of that name, I think that I started with Nostradamus, and
Oh,
then
okay.
Meathead coronated me Matthew Damas. They both kind of work. I'm just not really. I haven't, decided on anything. A lot of it's going to depend on, what URL is available though.
Yeah, but you have made several predictions that have come true. So I got to call you Matthew Damas here and there.
Why, thank you very much. And my prediction for this morning is that you will save lots of money when you go shopping with our sponsors. Head over to manscaped.com, enter code PWR. They will get you 20% off of anything that you need for your grooming needs, as well as collar and elbow. Enter code PWR360. Linda, I have actually got a package that shipped this morning from none other than collar and elbow.
That is tremendous.
Yes,
I
yes. It's the turnaround time is absolutely amazing. I placed the order last night, probably 10:30 Mountain Time, and I awoke this morning to a notification that my order has shipped already. I don't remember the last company that I did anything with that was that quick to get my order in the mail.
Wow, and that's also by using code PWR 360. Is that correct?
That's correct. PWR 360 right there at
Okay,
checkout.
gotcha.
It took a nice little chunk right off of my order. And speaking of chunks, we we got a big chunk of the road to WrestleMania. Something happened to the road to WrestleMania last night. You and Meathead had talked earlier about how everything was pretty much set. It was just going to be a matter of building those layers, bringing the fans in, getting the further investment into the storylines for these matches that we've got set for WrestleMania. They did some business last night. I'm not sure that it's great business. 2 weeks prior to WrestleMania, the stable that was the talk of the town in 2020, a crazy year, a very abnormal year. One of the things that a lot of people who watch in the industry, who watch the product, had really good stuff to say was about the Hurt Business. It was the rejuvenation of Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, Cedric Alexander, and brought MVP back to a very prominent role. As of last night, the Hurt Business is no more, and the name might exist, and we'll get to that here in a little bit when we talk about the closing segments. But Raw started last night with the dissension that we had seen last week in the Hurt Business. It ripped it wide open, and the opening segment would see Bobby Lashley actually having a physical confrontation with Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin. Segment one of Raw last night, the Hurt Business, by all intents and purposes, as we knew them before, is done. Linda, your thoughts on such a big move this close to WrestleMania?
I'm still shocked at Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander losing the tag titles to New Day a couple weeks ago. I just felt, just like you mentioned, how strong and well received the Hurt Business has been, especially in this past difficult year. They were definitely a shiny spot given everything going on regarding live events, WWE itself. And as much as I love the New Day, of course, on Team Long Time, and just a big fan of the New Day as well, um, I just figured this would lead to even further dissension between the Hurt Business that I did not foresee happening right before Mania and
Mm-hmm.
in such quick fashion. How they could have still lost the tag titles, right? And they
Yeah.
still could have just still had their full support behind Bobby Lashley. But when we had that match where they lost to Drew McIntyre, therefore could not be at ringside, that kind of gave us more of a lead into what was going to happen last night. And unfortunately, it came true, and
So
that
so
hurt business is
here's
no longer.
here's what threw me off last week was early on in Raw when you had Lashley upset that the Hurt Business had come to the ring and interfered. It almost came off as he was going to scrap, Alexander and Benjamin, and maybe you were positioning him for because he's come across, especially in the interaction with Miz. I mean, even during the U.S. title run, he was never that dastardly of a heel. They weren't a baby face stable, but they really weren't that big of a heel stable. And when you had the interaction last week where he was upset at them from interfering in his match, it seemed for maybe a matter of 30 or 40 minutes on Raw that this might actually be going in the direction of a Lashley McIntyre kind of face versus face type of deal. Well, that got squashed really quick last week when he put the hit out on McIntyre, and we got more of that. We got more of that last night, and I want to go ahead and jump to the following segments with this because I think this is a probably the biggest news piece that came out of Raw last night. As the show would progress, we saw McIntyre in the locker room trying to get somebody to step up and take him out. We had an interaction between McIntyre and Reigns in the not Reigns, I'm sorry, Strowman in the locker room. That was a little bit unexpected, but it would ultimately be in the closing segments of the show, Ricochet that stepped up, and then we would have Mustafa Ali come out. And what would this would eventually bring Bobby Lashley out? And the big surprise of the night was McIntyre being attacked by Baron Corbin, and Raw closing with Corbin and Lashley standing strong with MVP on commentary saying this is the Hurt Business. What it feels like, and this is just my interpretation of it, and we've talked about it on this program, that Bobby Lashley has gotten so hot and this run has been so well received that what felt like initially you might have as a transitional champion, as somebody to get the belt back on Drew in front of fans, didn't seem like that big of a certainty because, looking at Lashley's booking and just, it's really hard to gauge where the audience is at because it's all been in the Thunderdome. So the best you can really do right now is, read the internet, listen to podcasts, kind of try to gauge that pulse of where the wrestling community's at. And that pulse was a lot of people were high on Bobby Lashley. This feels like a move for quote unquote cheap heat to align Bobby Lashley with Baron Corbin. I mean, this is a move WWE feels like they're making in order to, Baron Corbin, as talented as an individual as he is, he's that person that you have somebody face when you want to ensure they get cheered. I mean, that's kind of his reputation over these last couple of years. You look into his dealings with the Mysterio feud, you look into, pretty much everything that King Corbin, Baron Corbin's been attached with. And I want to get your thoughts, Linda, on the fact that we are most likely going into WrestleMania with Bobby Lashley and Baron Corbin in cahoots.
Well, another shocker, if you will, bringing in King Corbin, Baron Corbin over from SmackDown. At first, I was confused. I'm like, is he taking on this challenge? Is he going to try to take out Drew McIntyre so he gets his title shot against Bobby Lashley at Mania? But, as you mentioned, MVP saying this is the Hurt Business. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So this is a new formula, new recipe, new ingredients of the Hurt Business, and bringing in Baron Corbin. Now, I said this to you off site, mentioning how Baron Corbin, now he would be probably the best pick to align with Bobby Lashley going into this match with Drew. If you're going to want the booze going more toward Bobby Lashley than Drew McIntyre. And I know you've said it numerous times that as much as the fans do love Drew McIntyre, as deserving he would be of finally getting that huge crowd pop at WrestleMania, with Lashley now with the title, we're not sure how much of the crowd cheering will necessarily go toward Drew. He might even get boos, you know.
Yeah,
Again,
yeah.
it's hard to gauge because being in the Thunderdome, but aligning him with Baron Corbin can definitely, I would pretty much feel confident saying it'll guarantee some more boos to now who is clearly a true heel with this fight, and that would be Bobby Lashley.
Yes, an interesting shift that it definitely took. And I personally would have been fine with 2 weeks of McIntyre, Lashley face to face cutting promos, and then you have your match. I don't think there would have been anything wrong with that. I think Lashley and McIntyre, they match up very nicely. You know, they're a similar, similar size if you're looking at height. I mean, Lashley's a bit shorter and bigger. But I mean, it's a seems like a very intriguing matchup, and I don't necessarily know that this needed as big of a shift as we got. We've got one more week though, and they can really make a strong case next week. Who knows? I mean, if they decide this didn't come across like they wanted, maybe you don't see Corbin with him after last night. That being said, we did have another match that got made for WrestleMania. I'm really enjoying Riddle, and I know his gimmick is not for everybody, but his backstage wandering on his scooter, just the all over the place promos. I don't think I've ever had macaroni and cheese with shrimp. And he put that picture in my mind last night. I think it would actually work pretty well. I normally don't. I don't like a lot of stuff on my macaroni and cheese, and I mean I've had options with chicken and meats.
Bacon,
Yes, meats and
hot
stuff, but
dogs.
yes, but honestly, I think the texture of a shrimp would actually go well with the texture of the macaroni. So I do applaud him, not just for being an entertaining character, but putting those culinary ideas in my head. But we had multiple multiple backstage segments of Riddle on his scooter interacting with various talents last night, and it would ultimately lead to Riddle versus Sheamus, that I thought was an outstanding match, by far and away my favorite match on the show. These two work very, very well together. Riddle has a style that nobody else really seems to have in the WWE. I mean, it is more of his MMA, grappling style. I know the deal with no shoes on makes it very unique, but just watching Riddle in a matchup with somebody like Sheamus, who has been on an absolute tear, was very, very entertaining. Thought this was a great match. Sheamus picking up the win. And now, normally, I'm not a huge fan of non-title matches in general, much less the champion losing a non-title match. This makes sense, and as consistent as Sheamus has been as of late, and as good as he's looked in the feud with McIntyre, you really want him to, be featured in some type of prominent match at WrestleMania. That match has been made. Sheamus versus Riddle for the United States Championship at WrestleMania. Linda, your thoughts on the way these two match up and the fact that the title is going to be on the line between these two in just a few short weeks?
Yeah, we got a tease of this possible match for Mania last week with the backstage segment and Sheamus, almost ruining his scooter. Oh my no, that shouldn't happen. But I really enjoyed the match last night. I'm glad it got us to the title match for Mania. And, Matt Riddle, despite his shenanigans and his goofiness, he's very, very physical, and he brings his unique MMA style, his jiu-jitsu that he brings into the ring. And of course, we have other guys and ladies on the roster that have that background as well, but just something about him really shines more. And again, maybe it's no shoes, maybe it's him not wearing the knee pads or elbow pads, but the matchup with him and Sheamus, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing a rematch as we will get, at Mania. I even heard MVP saying, you've got that grappling MMA style from Riddle, but then you got that brawler beatdown style of Sheamus, but it works because they can one up each other. And, going into Mania, I did pick up Sheamus not too long ago.
That's true. That's true.
And
yeah, he's in a title match in Mania now.
yeah, and I love Matt Riddle, but the way that Sheamus has been being pushed and how, we thought maybe he might get one up on Drew McIntyre, when we were deciding all the different variables leading up to Mania, since that didn't happen, perhaps this is his time to shine with a title at Mania. We'll see.
And I will say that a Sheamus pickup, although it might very well be what catapults Drew Bate-Allah over top of the man they call Meathead, but a Sheamus pickup, it feels so much better than a Bad Bunny pickup.
Yeah.
We would also see some more Bad Bunny interaction last night as Miz and Morrison premiered their new Hey Hey Hip or Hop Hop video. And we had some interesting comedy segments last night. We had that. We had a game show that I'm going to discuss here in a little while. But we had more interaction between Miz Morrison, Bad Bunny, and Damian Priest. Did you get a chance to watch the world premiere video, Linda?
Absolutely. I love Miz and Morrison, and I was anxiously awaiting their latest music video.
And, I'm sure that I can't remember exactly where it was filmed at, but
in San Juan, Puerto Rico.
Oh, that's right. It was San Juan. To their credit, those seem to be some of the biggest COVID era crowds that I've seen anywhere. I mean, Miz and Morrison, they are amazing. They're a draw in San Juan. Apparently, the locals love them.
Absolutely, and they love the costumes.
Something that I don't know that the locals love quite as much. We got more development between Shane and Braun Strowman last night. Shane apparently, in his vast resources, was able to find Braun Strowman's, I believe it was his 5th grade report card that featured 2 D minuses, a D, and then a D plus. Mm-hmm. Yep, he got a D plus in gym. So, good for Braun. Apparently, showing some athleticism there as a youngster. Braun would make an appearance. He would actually wrestle Jackson Riker, picking up the win, and afterwards announced that the stipulation for the match at WrestleMania is a steel cage match. If this had been pre-Hell in a Cell pay-per-view era, it's a very good possibility that this might have actually been a Hell in a Cell match, but you really don't see that utilized much outside of the specialty pay-per-view. To me, this was more of the same. There was no slime this week, but as big of a Shane McMahon fan as I am, and the years where Shane's wrestled at WrestleMania, it's always been must-see for me, whether it be the Taker match, whether it be the AJ Styles match. There's
the
always
Miz one. That was a good one too.
Exactly. I've always really enjoyed Shane, especially around WrestleMania time. This just feels so different. And this I get the fact that Shane's trying to, make sure everybody dislikes him and he's the bully and he's making fun of Braun for being stupid, which I don't know if it's the fact that it's kind of an uncomfortable storyline or the fact that it's just a lot of things here are not working. And I don't know that there's much salvaging this at this point in the getting there. I think the match is going to be fun. I think you put Shane in a cage match, there's always going to be these big high spots. Both guys are going to work really hard, but I'm kind of glad that we've only got one more week of this build.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just still surprised that as a McMahon that they would go there, be a star,
Yeah, exactly.
And I get.
And I think that's what makes me feel so uncomfortable about this. Like, I almost feel like this is how you make someone a heel for, elementary school kids. Like, I feel like this is a storyline that is like uncomfortably being built for children on the playground, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. And just what it took to get here, Strowman just demanding an apology from Shane McMahon, not him trying to find him, giving him a beatdown, which is the Braun Strowman that we would expect, And I don't know. I mean, this steel cage match, like you said, I think it will still be a great match. It will be entertaining. We'll get some high spots, but I just got to hear that true during the match at some point.
And that's the thing. And I think you really hit the nail on the head, is the fact that Braun hasn't looked that great in this either. I mean, this all started from him complaining and whining because he wasn't
in the chamber match.
Yeah, it wasn't in the chamber. And it's just it's one of those things where it's just not, you don't really feel like anybody's coming across as super, super likable in this. But I will tell you one match that the actual match itself, I haven't been overly excited about, but the getting there has been very, very fun to me. And that is the match for the Raw Tag Team Championships. New Day, AJ Styles with Omos at WrestleMania. Tonight, we got a New Day game night that featured, charades. It was pretty much predominantly just charades and kind of like a win, lose, or draw type of thing.
Yeah.
But this was absolutely entertaining to me. And I don't feel like AJ Styles gets enough credit for how good of a comedic heel he can be. And this was prime AJ Styles comedic heel, playing off of Omos, who just pretty much just stood there and did not interact, just kind of stare at AJ Styles. I really enjoyed this segment.
Yeah, and this, once this match was made, as surprising as it was that AJ Styles and Omos were going to get their tag team debut at WrestleMania, I believe me and we had discussed how leading up we would be highly entertained due to some comedic bits, some shenanigans between New Day and AJ Styles, because we've gotten some comedic segments with AJ Styles in the past, and the pairing with him and Omos. I mean, even last week when was it guessing the color, his favorite color?
Yes.
But
yes, it was great.
Yeah, just even AJ Styles still doing the WWE, hip whirls, thrustings, and whatnot. Over the years, New Day and AJ Styles have had lots of great segments where they've just been hilarious, and I'm glad we still got that in the game night. And I was thinking okay, at first AJ would be into it, and then all of a sudden the fire would come out of him and he would beat them down. But no, he was still in it. And with the game, it was Omos that all of a sudden flipped the switch, and we got to see just a taste of what he can do. For his match at Mania.
I think my favorite AJ Styles comedic heel segment probably has to go back to the TNA days, like early 2008, when they had the angle with AJ trying to decide whether he was going to join it. I think it was Kurt Angle's stable at the time. And there was this impact where he basically, AJ was on site in his grandmother's home. He was holed up in his grandmother's home, and you had influential characters from AJ's childhood. I think his baseball coach was there. His little league baseball coach came by to try to give him advice like that. I need to go back and find that segment. I haven't seen it in over a decade.
Send it to me.
Yes, but when I think about comedic AJ Styles, that I think takes the cake. Something
can I mention my favorite moment? Sorry, AJ in WWE was with him and Joseph Park when they he had the dry erase board that they used a permanent marker, and it spelled out piss.
Yes.
It was
that's
phenomenal.
Great. That's great.
Intellect something, but yeah, lots of different ways. He's just been, dare I say, phenomenal.
My goodness, how short-lived was that relationship between AJ and Joseph Park?
They could have definitely stretched that out and used him a lot more, especially that was during the debut with them two together on WWE, at least, was during the COVID era. So they could have stretched that somewhere.
And I'm enjoying what they're doing with Omos, but now that you brought that up, could you imagine Joseph Park in this position right now with AJ going up for the tag team titles at WrestleMania?
Actually, yes, because it would. Another beast would be unleashed.
Yes. Oh, there's so much you could do with that. Okay, I'm satisfied enough with this. I can't fantasy book anymore. But something that was a pretty glaring omission from last night's show. We did not have a lot going on in the women's division. We did get the contract signing between Asuka and Rhea Ripley, that would, see Rhea Ripley throwing the table at Asuka, and we would, I guess this was after the Shayna Baszler Naomi match, because what we ultimately got was Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax coming out challenging Rhea Ripley and Asuka to a tag match next week. I don't know. I feel like we've gotten enough of that. I feel like we've gotten enough of the opponents being tag teams.
That's like on SmackDown, same thing.
Over on SmackDown. But that being said, we had a lot of women's tag teams around ringside last night for the Shayna Baszler Naomi match. We've got to be going to some type of multi-team tag match, don't we, at WrestleMania?
Yeah, I said this to Meathead last week. I would like to see a women's tag ladder match, just because that would be a first for the women's division. But you know what? If I was Naomi and Lana, I'd be pissed, just because they won that #1 contenders match weeks ago, and they're still not getting that one-on-one title shot that they deserve for getting the #1 contenders. But it's got to lead to something at Mania. And if it is a women's tag ladder match, even if it was part of the kickoff show, that'd be a great way to do it. Because WrestleMania tends to have ladder matches in the kickoff. So
the rumors are there. They're murmurings. Is this how we get the return of the Bellas? And do we get it in 2 weeks? It really reminds me of just a few short years ago when a certain brother duo from North Carolina made their WWE return.
Yes.
And that wasn't a ladder match, right?
I just remember that was when New Day came out of the cereal box.
That's right. That's when they were the host of WrestleMania. That's when they were the WrestleMania host. Whereas we've got Hogan and Titus O'Neil this year. Did you see that video by that young Hulkamaniac last night? If you didn't catch it, go back and watch it. And I don't know, I missed the setup, but there's a child. He's a little over 3 feet, and I know this because he had a life-size Hulk Hogan growth chart behind him, which I really need to get. I've been meaning to kind of, track my growth to see if I'm actually getting any taller for a while now. And I think I need to get one of those deals, which it's actually life-size Hulk Hogan. And he shows you, exactly how many feet and inches you are in comparison to Hulk Hogan. So I need to add that to my shopping cart next time I'm on the internet. But if you missed it, go back and check it out. It was an Instagram video from a young child. He can't be more than 5. My goodness, he does a spot-on Hulk Hogan impersonation.
Right. I mean, pairing up Hogan and Titus for both nights. I'm assuming they're being a duo both nights. It can work. I mean, you bring back Hulk Hogan and you try to get him in a more positive light if you're WWE, and this would be a good way at, doing that. Why not?
Yeah, so it's still kind of interests me, the concept of the WrestleMania host. We went how many WrestleManias without a host, and it's kind of become a thing now, which it can work. It's created some some fun segments in years past. So that does it for this morning. A jam-packed Raw last night with a lot more news items than I planned on talking about. Actually, speaking of news items, we did get the official announcement yesterday. Rob Van Dam, your newest inductee in the WWE Hall of Fame. Linda, your thoughts on RVD finally going in the Hall of Fame this year?
Rob Van Dam. Sorry, I had to do that. I was here doing the RVD motion here.
I assume you had, both thumbs pointing and whatnot.
Yes. Yeah, that's great. I mean, it's been a rumor that's been floating around, and he definitely brought an innovative style to ECW, WWE, and definitely was a fan favorite. And yeah, the rumors swirling around. I'm like, this has to happen. I know you, me, and Meathead have been floating around other rumors of
Yes.
possible Hall of Fame members, but this one I felt was going to come to fruition, and it will. So yeah, congrats, RVD.
Yes, I guess we'll just have to wait and see who he does actually, in fact, get inducted by.
Yes.
Well, that does it for us this morning. Thank you for joining us. Be sure to join us tomorrow morning when the man they call Meathead, the word on the street is he will be back. So you will have to tune in to find out for yourself. Until tomorrow, we'll talk to you then.